Hello, welcome to my channel, Another Bibliophile Reads. My name is Greg, and I am here with week 22 of my 55K page challenge, where I have challenged myself to read 55,000 pages in print, digital, or audio format. And what have I been reading this week? The first book I completed was Blood Meridian. Now, I just mentioned this book in a previous video of my top 5 American books that I read in the past 2 years. And this is a fabulous book about the kid who runs into trouble very young and gets involved with some very shady and very evil characters. He meets up with the judge who, depending on how you want to interpret this book, is either the incarnation of evil or just a very wicked man. He has Toadvine, the ex-horse thief, and the ex-priest. And as I said before, this is an extremely violent book, but it is extremely well written and extremely gripping. And that was the first book that I read for June on the Range. I then read a second book for June on a Range. This was a group read with Mark over at Book Time with Elvis and Scott of the Bookish Bryants. We all really enjoyed this. This was The Quick and the Dead by Louis L'Amour. It is much more of a traditional Western. It is the story of a family that lived out east, and they're heading out west to find a new life with an overloaded wagon. And some bad people see this wagon. Some people think there's gold in the wagon. And one person in the group would really like to rape the man's wife, which is a pretty dark thing to find in such a popular book, but there we go. But this family, Duncan and his wife and his 10-year-old kid, they run into Convalian, who is a loner. He is a man who rides alone. And there is some question among Scott, Mark, and myself is why this man volunteers to help this family. Is there sexual tension that the man, that Con, is very attracted to the man's wife, and he's judging the situation that the husband's very likely to get killed very quickly, and the wife's going to need a new husband. Is that part of it? Maybe. There's also just that he is written as a good guy character. He wants to do good in the world. And I've seen that in the few Westerns that I've read, like Shane, where Shane is a gunslinger that comes in to help a family not lose their land. So there is that why Convalian wants to help the family. And that was a pretty good discussion. And it's a very gripping book. It starts off very fast, and the pace really doesn't let up, and quite a story. Now, the one thing I have about this book is that it sort of idolizes guns. That the gun is good. It defends the family from evil. And only the bad people would do bad things with guns. Now, not being a gun enthusiast myself, I really have an issue with this. Someone's channel talked about the Western sort of being the blueprint for the modern gun enthusiasts' adoration of guns, that they are good people, that they can defend their lives, and they can defend their families, and they can defend their friends with guns. So that was a discussion. I'm looking to this as not to be really too offended by this gun adoration, but trying to learn from it. Is this what the common American who is a gun enthusiast really thinks about guns? So we'll find out, because the group that read this, we really enjoyed it, and we're going to read Hondo by Louis L'Amour, probably sometime late this week or early next week. I have my copy coming in from the library, and then we'll be good to go. And we'll see what happens after that. I do recommend this as a highly entertaining book. I then, as an audiobook, read Dr. Thorne by Anthony Trollop. This is the third in a series of Barchester Towers books. Unfortunately, I think this is or was the weakest of the three books that I've read so far. It is the story of Dr. Thorne, who has a niece, Mary Thorne, and she is an orphan. Although he kind of keeps that secret because he does know the mother of the child. But Mary Thorne falls in love with a guy named Frank Grimsby, and he comes from a very prestigious family. The only problem is that prestigious family has a little bit of money issues. And Frank is instructed by his mother to marry money. Unfortunately, Mary Thorne does not have money, so there is a lot of tension there on what Frank is supposed to do. Now, this is an Anthony Trollop book, and I've just come to the conclusion that when you read this, you're going to be delighted with the characters, sort of put off with some of the characters, and everything in the book is going to turn out all right. I guess that's a little bit of a spoiler, but not really. And I will be continuing on to the rest of the Barchester Towers series. I've been listening to all of them in audiobook, narrated by Timothy West. Timothy West is an excellent narrator. So I will continue the Barchester Towers series. After that, I am also doing Ancientsathon. And for Ancientsathon, one of the nonfiction prompts is to read something nonfiction, and I am reading some dialogues of Plato. I am reading what's going to be the last days of Socrates, that is the Apology, the Crito, and the Phaedo. I have already read the Apology and the Crito. And the Apology is Socrates giving his defense against the judges in Greece, where he has been accused of corrupting the minds and the morals of the youth. And his idea that he is not really doing that. And if you know your history, he loses his case. And after he loses his case, he is sentenced to death. And you learn this in the Crito, that there is a ship that sails out of Athens that goes on a pilgrimage, and no one can be put to death until the ship comes back. And so he is having a discussion with Crito. And Crito wants Socrates to leave Athens. They've got the money together. They said they can go live in exile. But Socrates denies that. He will not deny the verdict that has been passed on him, because he says even though he disagrees with it, he cannot lie and try to escape from justice. And this commitment to not lying is something that no modern politician pays any attention to whatsoever nowadays. Whatever party they belong to, they're massive liars. Maybe they should read the Crito and pick a little bit up from Plato. Now, I have not read the Phaedo yet. That will be either this week or next week. It is the longest of the three dialogues. It is 60 pages in this edition, which is more like 100 pages of something else, and it's pretty dense text. But I am highly looking forward to the Phaedo. In addition, there is another event that I am participating in. This is with Alan at Big Hard Books and Classics and Stephanie Cohen. And we are reading Welcome to the Monkey House by Kurt Vonnegut. And that is a collection of short stories. Now, I do not actually own a collection of I do not own that collection of Welcome to the Monkey House, but I was able to pick up this book from the public library, which is the complete story. So I'm just going through the index of a sample of Welcome to the Monkey House and just reading the short stories in the order that come in the book. I have gotten through about 4 of them. There are 2 fabulous stories that I've read so far: Harrison Bergeron and Welcome to the Monkey House. And these are short stories that only Kurt Vonnegut could have written. He has such a distinctive style and flavor to his stories that you know immediately who the author is upon reading these. Harrison Bergeron is a very classic short story. It is about 6 pages long. It is science fiction or satire, depending how you want to categorize it. And the Welcome to the Monkey House also falls into that category. They are 2 great short stories. I will be reading about 5 a week. And that is all that I read this week. That comes out to a total of 1,175 pages, bringing my year-to-date total up to 27,992. So, going into next week, what am I reading? Well, for the Summer of Snopes readathon, I am reading The Hamlet by William Faulker. This is Faulkner's humorous book, and there are some very funny scenes in this. There's also a lot of business that these men are dealing business transactions with each other, and they're trying to get the better of each other through business transactions. And I just find that a very curious way to live your life and try to improve yourself. But it's a very fun book. It is nowhere near as difficult as The Sound and the Fury or Absalom, or maybe even As I Lay Dying. So that's a lot of fun. I am also reading Gold by Rumi. This is a collection of poems translated from the Farsi. It is a very minor selection of his poems. There is like 65,000 poems or some ridiculous amount of poems. And this is a very short book of about 87 pages. And let me just give you a little bit of a quote. I am blasphemous and religious, the wine and its dregs, an old sage, a young man, a child. When I leave this world, don't say I died. Say I was dead, then came to life. Say the beloved whisked me away. So it's semi-religious on Sufism and just some fabulous old poetry. And before I get to Hundo, I have one more book that I want to read. Hopefully I can knock it out in a day or 2. And that's going to be The Oxbow Incident by Walter Van Trilling Clark. And I will have to see if this holds true to the gun culture that I noticed in The Quick and the Dead. And that is my weekly update. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.